app called Scenarist, which I've posted on the resources page. So far, I'm kind of liking it. It prompted me to create a new file. I'm creating a short movie, which I've decided is called The Dimension. And so it asked me for the script name, and that's the script name. I got a title page. I can give it the name, the genre. I'll call it science fiction / horror, maybe. The author is me. Additional other people. So like if you use this, you can do this and it'll format it. The log line is kind of like, what is the catchphrase that would be used to market this movie? I'm going to say, stay out of the dimension. You do not have to include a log line. I'm going to say, whoops, get rid of all this. The synopsis means kind of like a summary of what's going on. A man discovers a strange dimension in his workplace. So that's kind of like a one-line summary of what happens in this movie. As you are developing your movie, you would expand on that. So a man comes into work one day and discovers that something strange happens to objects in the, let me spell that correctly, objects in the hallway outside his office. When he investigates further, he discovers that everything in one particular place gets crushed whenever it is unobserved. The man meets a terrible fate at the end when he accidentally passes through that point. Okay, so I've got a good kind of synopsis here. I've got a one sentence, I've got a one paragraph. And if you were writing this into a longer movie, you could take each sentence from this paragraph and kind of develop that into its own paragraph. And that's how you kind of flesh out the synopsis of your movie. Versions, this is the first draft, so don't worry about that. Add characters. I guess I would add research. No, I don't need that. So I'm not really sure how to do that yet. But locations, you could add locations. I'm not really sure. These might be where you would drag and drop images or something. I haven't really explored it yet, but you can find out. So on to the script. We need a scene heading, and that's what's selected here. So I'm going to say interior hallway day. There we go. So I think this should be a period. Yeah, interior hallway day. And then already onto action. I'll play the character of somebody named Mr. Z. Mr. Z walks down the hallway carrying some papers, reading one of them as he heads into his office. Maybe his phone rings in his pocket. Struggling to balance the papers while answering the phone, Mr. Z drops one of them on the hallway floor as he opens his door. Now we've got some dialogue. So we go to character, Mr. Z. And I don't have to hit caps lock. It already knows that that should be capitalized. Dialogue. And if I hit a parenthesis, it gives me a parenthetical. But I don't want a parentheses. Oops, Mr. Z. Okay, so now onto the dialogue. Let's see, who is calling me? Maybe Mr. Sutton is calling me. So I'll say, hey, Nate, how's it going? Now more action. Mr. Z balances the phone in the crook of his neck as he fumbles his way to his desk. On the other end of the line, Nate is talking, but we do not know what he is saying. Mr. Z. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've got it right here. Hang on a sec. Whoops. Mr. Z glances down at the papers in his hand and looks puzzled. Hang on. I thought I had it. What's going to happen is Mr. Z is going to realize that he dropped the paper. He's going to go back into the hallway and he's going to see the paper that he dropped, but now it's crumpled up. Okay? And that's going to be the strange event that kind of sets our story in motion. All right? And as you can see in the upper right-hand corner, we already have an idea of how long of a movie this is so far. I've already got 30 seconds. So I'm going to keep writing and I will check back with you once I'm done, and you can see kind of how the screenplay developed over a series of 2 or 3 pages.
Now that I've finished my script, I've gotten it to just under 3 pages. So I've got 1 page of pretty good looking screenplay format. I've got 2 pages and I've got 3 pages. A few things I need to do are to inventory things like characters, props, and sets, as well as different camera angles, and I can start to storyboard once I've done that. So as I read through my script, I can kind of see like, what do I need to kind of collect here? So for example, maybe I'll say, the first line is Mr. Z walks down the hallway carrying some papers. So I need some papers, that's a prop. I'm going to go ahead and write P there. This is my method for doing it. You can use whatever method you want. So I've made a list of all my props that I need, and now I've also got my sets, and now I need to actually start storyboarding so I can start figuring out where to put these shots. Let's see, I think what I did was I printed out 2 versions of my script, so I have one that's all marked up with props and sets. This one I can mark up with shots by number, so I can kind of go through and say, okay, this paragraph right here, that's going to be pretty much 1 shot, okay? So that's shot 1. And that continues, and we can see, so Mr. Z walks down the hallway carrying some papers, reading one of them as he heads into his office. His phone rings in his pocket. Struggling to balance the papers while answering the phone, Mr. Z drops one of them on the hallway floor as he opens his door. And then when he answers the phone here, that could be the shot continuing, and then we could go for a kind of closer in, so that's maybe long, and then this one is medium. So he's kind of talking and like we're seeing him kind of closer and going into the office. Once he goes into the office, that's got to be a different shot right here. So that's 3. He fumbles his way to his desk in the unlit office. And then we maintain, on the other end of the line, Carl is talking, but we do not hear what he is saying. So then we're cutting back to Mr. Z, so we're still in shot 3 here. Well, maybe it's a different angle. Let's do a different angle here. So that's, yeah. Mr. Z glances down at the papers in his hand and looks puzzled. That could be a cutaway shot so that it's like a line of sight. Mr. Z looks down and then we see what he's looking at. Or we could just kind of take it on good faith that he's looking and doesn't see the paper that he's looking for. So anyway, I'm going to continue to mark this up with different shots and then I can start storyboarding from there. Hey, so what I did was instead of a storyboard, I did this. Basically, check it out. I created a map of my various sets that I'm going to need. So I've got the hallway, I've got Mr. Z's office, and I've got Carl's office. And I placed cameras inside those sets, kind of approximately where I think I'm going to need them. And I labeled each camera with a color and a letter. And then I'm going through the script and basically I chopped each one up into shots. So like all my shots are numbered and each number is given a letter that is color coded. So I can quickly find out like where are all the F shots that I need. And maybe if I'm running out of time, I can do all those at once by setting up my camera, going through the script and just doing all the takes that need to be captured on the F camera. So that's one way of doing it. And each time I set up the camera, I'm going to make sure I'm getting the kind of frame and shot that I need out of that angle. So I'm just hoping that that will make my process of shooting this movie a little bit easier. Anything to make it go faster and keep it organized is going to be good. Of course, this is going to mean if I do it this way, I'm going to shoot out of sequence. So at the beginning of each take, I need to kind of make it clear where I am in the script. So maybe I'll say shot number, whatever. And that way when I'm editing, I can kind of keep this piece of paper handy and know exactly where to drop those clips in once I've chopped them up. So let's see if it works. So yesterday, I went through my script and I took one copy of it and I tried to identify what all the props and sets are that I need. So I made a list of them here. And the biggest one was like the stack of papers that's going to be like the study on interdimensional permutations of gravity, which is totally made up, but it's kind of a necessary thing for the story because it kind of kicks the whole thing into motion. I need a phone, I've got one, a crumpled abstract. So let me just show you what I did. I used the printer in the classroom and I printed out something that looks like a scientific research paper. As you can see, this is going to be the prop. Now, I printed out different copies of the first page with the abstract on it because in one scene it's going to appear wrinkled and in another scene it's going to appear unwrinkled again. And I'm also going to need to create a paper airplane out of one of the other pages. And the nice thing about that is that I can kind of I can do that kind of in sequence so that I don't need the paper airplane twice. But we'll see. I might have to print another copy of a different page just to make that work. And then I needed a cardboard box, which I went ahead and folded one up and put it over here by the door. And let's see, what else can I show you? So I also went through the screenplay and I mapped out the shots. This is really interesting. First, I went through and just identified, like, in every line of the script, where should there be a different shot? And for each one, I kind of documented it should be a long shot, a medium shot, a medium, different angle medium, 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 medium. A lot of medium shots. I don't use a lot of close shots. There's one. But basically, for the most part, it's medium and long shots. And then what I did was I kind of mapped out my sets. So I know that there's going to be a hallway scene, and this is where I want to place cameras in order to get different angles on those shots. And I labeled them A, B, C, D, and I used colors too, which just helps me quickly identify kind of where the different camera angles are set up, so that if I want to really save time, I can set the camera up in the A location and then shoot all my A shots at once. So that's one way to save time, and it might be a way to keep more organized and more consistent, so that I'm not running into continuity errors between different points of view in the scenes. Normally, if you had a good working set or something, you could kind of tape out areas on the floor to return the cameras to. But I think I might do it this way, just because it's just me doing this by myself. And if you're a remote student, you might be doing this by yourself as well. Let's say if your teammate is the one who wrote the screenplay and you're in charge of production, this would be a good thing to be able to do. You can see my screenplay is nicely formatted. That's because I used one of the free screenwriting software resources that I posted in the classroom. You should check those out. I don't remember offhand what it's called. But yeah, it works pretty well. I'll be talking a little bit more about the screenplay. It's called The Dimension, and it's a science fiction / horror movie. Not really horror, it's more like science fiction. And basically it just takes place in a research facility where a scientist discovers that an interdimensional portal has opened up that is causing matter to change its properties. And it's all done very minimally and kind of cleverly with understatement and all that stuff. And the idea was developed by first typing a one-sentence synopsis and then kind of elaborating on it and breaking it up into a paragraph. And then if I wanted to, I could continue to break that whole paragraph up into more paragraphs, one for each sentence in the paragraph, just to kind of flesh out the description of the story. And from there, it becomes pretty simple to actually visualize it and put it into screenplay format, as long as you kind of know the rules to do so. So I'm gonna get started on shooting as soon as I finish my nice cup of coffee there. And then we'll see how it goes. I'll set this camera up on like a time lapse so you can kind of see me working. Any major artist will tell you that making movies or making your artwork seriously will involve kind of getting up early and pushing yourself a little bit harder than you're used to. I came into school a little bit early today. I got my coffee, and I'm going to go over my script, which is sitting on the desk right here, and see if I can knock out a few of these scenes. As you can see, I did not wear my glasses today, and that's so that I could play the different characters and have as blank of a template as possible for making them look different. I'm not willing to shave for this, but for that reason, a lot of actors keep clean shaven when they are looking for work so that they can take on different roles. So if you're able to grow a beard, that's something to keep in mind. Anyway, let's see how it goes. I just want to quickly show you, while I've been shooting each shot, after I'm done with it, I mark it off just to let myself know that I did a bunch of takes, and I kind of feel like I got what I needed. Each time I start rolling, I say shot number and then take number, and when I'm editing, I'll just go back and watch them all and then cut them up and label them. So I've just finished shooting all my footage. In fact, I'm still dressed up like Carl. And what I did was I went into the SD card from my camera and I copied it straight into a folder called The Dimension. This is where I keep all of my demo video content. As you can see within this, I have one called Movie Demo, which is the tutorial that I'm working on right now, and The Dimension, which is actually the movie that I'm going to create. So as you can see, all the files are there. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to delete them off of the SD card because that SD card is supposed to be for the students who are
hypothetically one day in here working in person to make their own movies, so I don't want to keep it cluttered up with my stuff. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and delete or and eject that, and now I'm done. And I can now open my movie editor, and I'm going to put all this footage into it and start going through it and just kind of cutting it up and figuring out which takes to keep and which ones to put aside. That's going to be a rather long and arduous task, and I'm not going to bore you with watching me do it. But I do want to let you know that that's kind of like the first big messy step to editing. Ideally, the workflow works in such a way that you are gradually making things easier for yourself. Big chunks first, and then smaller and smaller little bite-sized pieces. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll give you a taste of the next portion of the process once it starts. Good morning. I just wanted to kind of show you where I'm at with editing right now. I've done this cool thing where I'm really happy I did this. Basically, I pulled in all my footage and I opened each clip and named it according to the shot number. As you may recall, I had this list of shots that I marked up my script with. So as you'll see, each shot, whether I shot it in sequence or not, starts with me telling the camera what shot it is. So, for example,
shot 1, take 1.
So I know that is 0101, and it might contain multiple takes. So it might be shot 1, take 1, as well as shot 1, take 2, take 3, take 4. And what happens is when I bring that into my timeline in my editing software, let's take a look here. It's a good example. I'm looking for one that definitely has multiple takes. So right here, we can see shot 12, take 1, and then shot 12, take 5. So I know that this one has 4 takes in it. So if I bring that in, I can kind of see, I can kind of scroll through it. And then I come back and do another one, and I come back and do another one. And generally, if I'm erring on the side of caution, the best take tends to be the last one, and that's why I stopped doing more takes, is because it's like, okay, each take, the reason I did a subsequent take was because I didn't like the last one for some reason. So in my head, the reason I tend to go for the last one is because it tends to be the one that has improved on all the previous takes. So that's kind of my process. Once I get all of those in, I can just put the shots in order, because that's how I labeled them in my script. And each one I put in, and then I find the best take in that clip, and I trim it. And my movie has a lot of instances where there has to be continuity from one shot to another. So for example, here's an example of where this happens. I'm going to sort of lower the volume here.
Oh, interesting. Well, those studies just got disproven.
So as you can see, I had to kind of trim it to where I open the door. And so it looks kind of seamless. This is a mistake. So as you can see right here, I need to kind of trim it because I'm backtracking. So like here, I'm too far from the desk, and then I get closer, and now I'm far again. So I need to figure out how to kind of fix that continuity. But as we kind of go to other places, yeah, you can see there's problems picking up the phone twice. So I'll go in and kind of clean that up a little bit. Once I have all that stuff in, then I'm also going to be putting in kind of sound effects. I've already done that in some places where I created a sound effect from some other clip and then just removed the video. So I only have the audio. For example, the plane lands here, and then I hear a sound. And when we cut to this kind of cutaway line of sight shot. So yeah, that's happening. And also, let's see an instance where I'm cutting back and forth between two ends of a phone conversation. So here I'm on the phone. Now we hear the other person. And now we see the other person. And now we're back to me listening. And now I'm speaking. So you can see the different audio levels in the timeline. And what I did was I put them on different levels here. As you can see, I have audio 2, audio 3. Audio 3 is the one where it's going to sound like it's on the other end of a phone. So I'm going to add a sound effect to everything in audio 3, while audio 2, because we're with the person who's on the phone, we don't hear the sound effect. Instead, we might hear the sound from the other end. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. After that, I'll add any other sound effects that I need. I'm going to take out some noise in some places where I recorded in the hallway during a class and it's not supposed to be a school. So, yeah, and then I'll add music or something if I need. Probably not too much, but let's see. How am I doing? I'm a little bit over my time budget. I'm at almost 4 minutes right now. So I'm probably not going to be able to trim out too much because it's already pretty lean. But yeah, this is pretty much how it's going to work. I should have this done hopefully by the end of today, and hope to get it out to you soon.
Hey Carl, how's it going? Oh, interesting. Well, those studies just got disproven. Guess what turned up in my mailbox this morning? Yep, that's the one. I've got the answer right here. Hang on a second. Hang on, I thought I had it. Carl, I found the abstract. I must have dropped it. I'm going to call you back. Carl, you've got to get down here. Something really strange is going on.
What do you mean?
Just, there's something weird happening to my papers.
You mean like someone is stealing them? Because that used to happen to me when I was reviewing the study on centrifugal time lensing and...
No, this is different. I mean, I think there might be an event outside my door.
An event like a party or something?
No, like an event. As in Event Horizon.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my whole life. I've never been so offended to hear such stupid things coming out of the mouth of a scientist. This day and age of the 21st century, you'll think we've come farther than that. And I remember at the beginning of my career, I was doing this and this and this in my institution in 1975, which proved that the ratio of mass between one celestial body and another had to be...
Carl!
What? What is it?
If I don't call you back in 5 minutes, call Simone Chan over at NASA, and then call an ambulance in that order. Tell them they need to come right away.
It's so stupid and